Okay, so a lot of liberal enclaves, like you might remember that, like when you find a liberal enclave, you'll often hear about it as historically because they're typically around colleges. That is this like place with like the peace movement or something like that, anti-war movement, had all these anti-war hippies and such like, and it was a quirky town. Oh, people there are a little weird. I really, that's one of those words, quirky, that I've been thinking about, is how that's become over the past generation, this wonderful descriptor, that something is quirky. So it's not that it's asymmetrical, or that it's broken or something like that. No, it's quirky. It's peculiar. It's goofy. It's a goofy, giggly, goofy take on something. I don't know. So so you get the concept of the quirky town, and people. Oh yeah, so people there, they sometimes have some wild and crazy ideas. So it's when you move from one quirky town to a place that's another quirky town, or you see one town go through a phase of that, and then you go to another place and it kind of goes through that, trying to build on that idea. Like, we're a quirky little town with crazy ideas, but boy, make it work. And so now, the beauty of this is so here in Quirktown, Oregon, people are still wearing their masks outdoors. Like, people still are wearing their masks outside. That's not quirky. That's like a real lack of knowing about one, even what the CDC is saying, but it shows just a lack of understanding of how the masks even ever worked. I mean, ever. And now I think it's this thing of like, because when you're around kind of hippie types, it's like you realize these aren't like downright stupid ass people, but there's definitely stuff that they believe that it's like you got to be kind of a dumbass to believe that. Or it's something that you realize, like, oh yeah, like 10 years ago, somebody squashed the myth that dietary supplement did something, like St. John's wort. St. John's wort's one of these that, yeah, mask on, alone in a car, all over the place here. So this is why now we can never trust that liberals understand science at its most fundamental scientific inquiry. Fundamental rational thought when it comes to analyzing scientific findings, even being able to engage in scientific observation. And that's one that really is showing a fundamental misunderstanding about how scientific observation works. Because also people here are insistent on climate change measures, even though like they absolutely do not change their personal way of living. They're just as consumptive as anyone else. They're consumptive as any other people. They're not building things differently. They're not doing anything differently. It's just consuming. Let me show you what they're doing differently. Look, bikes. Oh shit, bicycles, that have to be replaced and maintained, and it's just the same shit, it's just, and oh look, but they still have streets. That means people are still driving in cars because people prefer cars because they're actually more efficient, because you could go anywhere and do anything in a car at whim and whimsy, rather than taking a bus and going out of your way to do all kinds of stuff in some inefficient way and losing time, because America's huge, and a lot of people who love public transit and this myth of America and public transit for the poor and stuff never really deal with the fact that that Americans and almost every single cultural group will try to go someplace where nobody else is. There's very few groups in America that will try to find a more dense place to live over and over and over and over again. People like their farm fantasy. That's why we have cars. Anyway, I gotta get a cup of joe. Talk to you guys later.